The 2010 FIFA World Cup has been a major catalyst for many infrastructure projects in South Africa. The South African government has contributed 28 billion rand to the World Cup related projects. Of the 28 billion, 9.8 billion rand is being put towards the Stadia and precinct development. After the World Cup, the country will be spoilt for choice in regards to sporting facilities.
This country, because of the fact that the World Cup is coming here, leave a legacy for the rest of our lives when it comes to stadium and venues facilities on a level that is much higher than I think the common South African is aware of. We're sitting in a venue which is actually only a training venue for the World Cup. And if you took this venue to most of the European countries, this would be probably the best or one of the best stadiums in that country. I can use my own country as an example. I'm born in one of the most wealthiest nations in the world. And Bafana is going the 10th of October to play in our national stadium in Oslo. And if you took this stadium instead and took it to Oslo, this is a much nicer, much more modern, much better stadium. And it's still only a training venue. So I think number one, even it's a few months up until everybody is done, we must just understand that this World Cup has already given the future of the soccer family in this country an enormous value in the legacy by putting the stadiums up.
There's been a lot of talk over using the stadia for both rugby and soccer in order to make sure some of the stadia don't become white elephants and that they are sustainable post-2010. Danny Jordan said it was an apartheid idea to have a rugby stadium only for rugby and a cricket stadium only for cricket and no stadium only for soccer.
I think we must get out of our minds that there is a thing like a rugby stadium and a soccer stadium. There are just these big, massive international stadiums that must be driven on the basis of a business case to make it commercially viable and sustainable and deal with the question of maintenance and other requirements to maintain the quality in the stadium. And in France, which a country with greater resources than our country, in Stade France, Paris Saint-Germain is playing there. That's a home ground. But the French are playing the rugby tests there. You go to even England, in the Millennium Stadium, they're playing rugby tests there and football matches. And the match day revenue in any English Premier League we cannot compare with in our country. So if we think that we're going to have a big stadium for only one code of sport, then you have to actually look at the matches and which matches attract full stadiums. We have the advantage that we have both rugby and football, and the two together will make these stadiums sustainable. And if you compare the match day revenue of a rugby match as opposed to a football match, and then say you pay 20% of that match day revenue, you will see you will need both to make your stadium viable.
The Minister of Arts and Culture was also part of the forum. She gave us some insights on how the rural areas in South Africa are going to be able to get their slice of the World Cup and what the event will leave these areas.
Our mandate as the ministry is to ensure that we promote and preserve arts and culture and also ensure social cohesion and nation building. Our focus is on rural development. As the government, that was our major mandate after the elections this year. So what we have been mandated to do as the Arts and Culture Department is to ensure that those people that don't live in the cities also can enjoy the World Cup. We are going to set up PVAs, public viewing areas, not only in the areas where there will be no World Cup, no hosting in the provinces, but also in the rural areas where we know our people will not have the opportunity either to buy a ticket and to go to a stadium. So through those PVAs, we'll bring in technology that has been produced in the US that we believe can actually make it real, what they will be seeing on the screen, they will actually believe they are there in the stadium. And we want, after that, we'll be using our community arts centers, we'll be using African cultural villages. We want to convert these facilities after that into cinemas, because we believe that technology can then be converted into movie houses after the World Cup.